one underneath.
Include Chuck.
It's underneath. Right here.
It's in the back.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning, Michael. Hey. Yes, can conduct yourselves professionally.
Michael's a little out of focus there.
That would be his camera, I think.
Affecting John too.
It is 9:30.
All right, should we, make su-
Good morning, everybody. Could we get a full sound check? These mics are pretty strong, so you don't have to have them right by your mouth. So you can get a few inches. You should be able to hear yourself up above as well. The button is on the back of the bottom of the mic. It's a little red, tiny red button to turn it on.
all right.
Mic check from Sharon Fitzsimmons.
Hello.
Sounding good? Good.
I don't know if it's possible to change it, but there's a really high pitched whine feedback that's torture for people who can hear it.
That's what I was afraid of. We might have to turn the local one down
Yeah,
a little
it's-
bit, Belinda.
It's a really high. It's one of those like, it's in that range that's like the mosquito ringtone. Yeah.
Okay, we hear you fine on the stream at least, so you might not be able to hear each other inside the room.
It's still there. It's a little better. But it's okay. I can tune it out.
Those of us with tinnitus hear that all the time. Yay.
All right. We should go ahead and proceed.
We have a quorum. It's 9:30.
All right. Am I audible?
Yes.
All right. All right, how do we bring the room back onto the center of the feed? Okay. All right. All right. That works. All right, welcome to the August 2025 meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Library Trustees. I'm John Johnston, Vice President, and we could go around the room. Everyone introduce yourselves.
Sharon Fitzsimmons, trustee.
If Michael and Dorothy, you could introduce yourselves.
Michael Dunn, trustee.
Dorothy Waters, trustee.
I don't think I can hear Judith's mic, by the way.
John Walters.
Judith Gwynn, treasurer.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Am I supposed to stay on? Okay.
All right. The first item is the approval of this month's agenda. Do we have any additions? Modifications?
I would like to move fiscal year 26 budget before fiscal year 25 budget, just because we've got a new trustee. And I think it'd be a good idea just to talk about what goes into each of these budget lines.
Okay. That's a good call. All right. With that suggested modification, do we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The next item is the approval of last month's minutes. Do you have any questions or modifications?
Move to accept as presented.
Second?
You have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. And next we have some milestones and hip hip race to celebrate.
Well, thank you very much. We've got quite a few this morning, and the first one is for Corey Somerville. And Corey, could you come on up? And Corey is Assistant Branch Manager for Facilities and Security at Lexington Park, and we are celebrating 10 years with Corey. Corey, congratulations. Here's your certificate. And we get a 10-year pin from wherever it's fine. You want to say anything? Oh, here you go.
One, I'm grateful. When I think about it, it's been a remarkable journey when you consider the limited basis that I started, in what capacity. I've grown a great deal, both professionally and personally, just working at a library. I mean, they cover so much from science, technology, art, and just growing in the position. I want to thank my branch manager, Amy Ford, all of the administrative staff, Mary Ann, Belinda, Michael, for their trust in me. And I want to continue doing the good work of the library.
And Corey is just wonderful about de-escalating, about calming people down. When we have trouble, it's sort of like, everybody just needs to relax. And particularly valuable for that, Corey. Thanks for all you do. And next, we have another 10-year pin. And this one's for Belinda Lloyd. Belinda, could you come on up, please? Tenure pin. Belinda is our coordinator for human relations and finance. Belinda, do you want to say anything?
I just want to say I love my job. I've been a substitute, a library assistant, a librarian, and now HR and finance coordinator. And I absolutely love what I do, mostly because I love working with this particular staff at the library. They are all amazing, all the staff. So thank you.
Could you sign these for me? I should have had you do this earlier. We're going to go on ahead and get started on them in any case. The first Hip Hip Hooray is for Jill Hutchinson. Jill is our coordinator for youth services, and she has been supporting youth services above and beyond this summer. Summer reading program, our busiest time. She sets up all the presenters, gets the programs going, and it has been an exceptionally busy summer. So Jill, she's not here today, but thank you so very much. Appreciate that. Yeah, please. The next one is for Denise. Denise, could you come on up? So just say, thank you for helping to staff and cover shifts at Charlotte Hall during our busiest time of the year. You've consistently stepped in to take substitute shifts, allowing the managers to focus on other responsibilities. Dedication to the branch and your team is truly appreciated. So thank you so much.
So for this whole library community, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Denise. Okay, so next, we're having hip hip hoorays for our summer interns. And one of them, Felicity, could not be here today. She's the mobile library intern, and the mobile library is having a program this morning. So she is at that program. It's Reptile Wonders, which is one of our most popular programs. So with any luck, she is now serving hundreds of people, we can hope. Zoe. Come on up if you would. And shall I read it for you? Or are you? Okay, great. Here we go. Thank you. Zoe, thank you for being enthusiastic, proactive, and unceasingly helpful to us in the mobile library this summer. Your passion for the library shines, and we've been honored to be one of the first stops on what will doubtless be a very successful career. Thank you so much for this work this summer.
Yeah, I just want to express my appreciation and gratitude for everyone I've had the pleasure of speaking with, for putting up with all my wonderful library-related questions, and just appreciation for being kind, caring, and always open to helping and teaching me. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Not that the other trustees know this, but we have interns in every summer, and 6 of them have gone on to be full-time employees here at the library. So it's just a great way to introduce people to the library profession and then also recruit great staff for us. So Megan, come on up if you would, please. Megan has been here at Charlotte Hall. Thank you for being a valuable asset to the Charlotte Hall Library, transitioning from dedicated teen volunteer to a reliable intern. So you're already on the path. Your creativity, eagerness to learn, and consistent willingness to assist whenever needed have made a significant impact. You successfully led programs such as the Lego Block Party and Crafternoon, demonstrating both initiative and leadership. We're truly grateful for your contributions and continued support. Do you want to say?
I just really appreciate the library, and this has been a great experience. And I especially thank you to Brittany, Emma, and Rita, who have been my main people I've worked with. I really appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Megan. Ellie, please come on up. Okay, so Ellie's been at the Lexington Park location. Thank you for being a dependable and enthusiastic part of our team this summer. You took the lead on lunch at the library and served nutritious food to hundreds of families in our community. You provided invaluable you proved invaluable for keeping our summer reading book bundles and displays looking great and in assisting the youth team with program prep. You're creative, organized, and always willing to jump in and learn something new. Thank you for a great summer. Do you want to?
It's been a really great experience this summer. I am currently in grad school to be a librarian, so this has been a great first step into seeing what's in a library, right? And I'd like to give a special thanks to Amy and Andrea, my supervisors. They've been great this summer.
Thank you, and keep your eye on job postings at St. Mary's County Library. Yeah. Lunch and Learn is a program at Lexington Park. We partner with the schools and they provide hot meals for families there. And in some cases, it may be the only hot meal the child might get all that day. So that's a great program. We've been doing that a number of years and very thankful for the schools for their partnership on that. So John, please take it away.
All right. For the president's report, we have the approval of the monthly expense ledger. And we have any questions about any of the items listed?
I just wanted to thank Belinda for including the credit cards. That was a great addition. Thank you. Okay, so the only question I did have about the credit cards was the Canva. I know Canva. I'm sure you looked at the Canva subscriptions to see if they're cheaper than the.
So that's not a Canva subscription. We actually discussed this last month, but our Canva professional one is actually free because we use it through a nonprofit. But that was actually a purchase of items. Laura can tell you what they were.
They're rack cards we've ordered several different ones, so I'm not 100% sure which one that is, but it's either the card we hand out when you sign up for a new library card, or we created some about our technology services, like our one-on-one service and our computer classes. So we did those 2 orders. So it's probably those 3 rack cards together.
And the staff at all the branches can take advantage of Canva.
We do have a team that has access to that account, so a lot of our staff do have access to it. But it is only the staff that are creating both digital and physical signage. So mostly me, and then we do have other staff that have access. We also use it for social media images.
All right.
I have a question or two, if I may. On page 1, 3 up from the bottom, is that a periodic recurring pest control visit?
I'm sorry, we didn't, page 1? Are you looking at July 2025? Because I don't have that.
Maybe not, maybe not.
No, that's not on page 1, so.
I didn't pay for pest control this past month. But for your answer to that question is no, it's not periodic. It's when we have items returned that are infested and we have to then do a cleaning of the
So it's
area.
as needed.
It's as
Only
needed.
as needed, yes.
And that's been a recurring issue where items come in.
Very seldom, maybe 2 times a year on average. Our staff are very careful about checking things. Usually what it's going to be, it will be a DVD case or something.
Oh.
And it might have something inside. So we have a freezer, we set those items aside, we identify what it was. If necessary, we quarantine the area and clean it.
So it's usually not a printed book, it's usually a DVD.
Usually it's going to be something that has a case. And so it's not as easy to see. Occasionally a book might have something in a dust cover or something, but yeah, usually it's something with a case.
Any additional questions about the ledger? All right, if we get a motion to approve.
I will move.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We don't need to approve the credit card reconciliation. That's for
No,
information.
you basically approve that when you approve the EALs as a whole, because that's listed as a joint expense there. You can ask questions about the credit cards as part of that, but it's not a separate thing. It's just something that was requested, and so you get it.
All right. The next is the treasurer's report. Did you say you had something prepared for September?
Yeah, I'll give the full report in September. Under new business, I do have one item, but I'll bring it up later when we do new business. So this is just informational. You can see the money finally got to Vanguard, and I did the online transaction to put half of it into the Wellington account.
Yeah, I see the packet has both the
It's a
Schwab.
little bit, this is a little bit out of date.
But both the Schwab and the new Vanguard.
Or what?
It's in the packet.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, I didn't, it's not in the packet because I didn't get it until after the packet went out, but it was on your spots here, the Vanguard and the Schwab reports for, to show the transfer are there for you on your spot.
And you'll notice that the Schwab account is now at 0. So my question to you will be, do you wish to have this account closed? I don't think we'll ever use it again, so.
No, do you all think that takes a vote? we do need to close the Vanguard account. There's nothing in it. We need to clean that out, make sure we don't have, I'm sorry, Schwab, and clean up. I don't know if that takes a vote or not. I could do that under new business too.
Is there any benefit closing it, just leaving it open?
Why would we do that? I,
Chuck's mic is not coming through. I'm sorry to interrupt.
So go ahead, Michael.
Chuck's microphone is not coming through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption.
Thank you, Michael.
What I asked was, like, what I asked was, is it worthwhile to, can you hear me? No. Am I mute?
We got a microphone not working.
Can you hear me now?
use somebody else's, maybe.
Light's flashing on his.
Oh.
How about now, Michael?
There are those dulcet tones. Thank you.
So my question was, why not just leave it open with a zero balance? And Judith said, well, what's the benefit of that? And I said, well, it would just mean that we wouldn't have to reopen an account with Schwab if we ever wanted to do business with Schwab again. And there's no harm in having an open account with zero balance, I don't think.
We wouldn't be charged any fees, would we, for simply?
There's no fee or anything.
I don't think so.
That's just a
My first gut is just having an open account out there leaves us a little bit of risk. And my name is on it, Belinda's name is on it, and Mike Blackwell's name is on it.
Well, then.
So that
then
makes
whatever
me just
you-
a little bit ick, you know, just, you know, with the environment today of fraud, I don't think I would be in favor of that. But if
Okay.
we want to think about it, we can think about it.
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't a strong point. It was
Okay.
just
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah, I would be more concerned about fraud, somebody getting into the account and using it for something.
Okay.
Because our names are personally on those accounts. So
I know this was for the OPEB, but where are the Rudolph and the other account?
they're all at Vanguard.
They're at
So
Vanguard.
everything's at Vanguard, one account, 3 different funds. And so I'll go through all that in September. If that's all right.
I do think it sounds reasonable to close the Schwab account, but I think we should vote on it just for a nice, clean decision.
Okay. I was always not sure if we should do that now or do it under new business because I have another motion also.
Probably new business.
We'll do that under new business. Mike, thanks.
All right. Yeah, I just read the stock market performance. They were reflecting how, and the name Vanguard came up in the article talking about, like more of a trend toward less active investing and more passive investing, such as a plan like Vanguard. All right. The next item is the Smyrla report. And our and Smyrla is the Southern Maryland Regional Library Association. It includes members from the boards in the 3 counties. I think 1 board member from a local board plus 2 community members. And our next meeting will be next Tuesday. And we typically have that online. It's easier to get everybody together that way. And I'm the vice president of that board. And so our meeting, we usually meet every other month. So our next meeting will be Tuesday, the 12th, I believe. But under Smyrla Business, I attended the American Library Association's virtual conference. They have a trustee day. And I took several notes of some items that appear to be useful. Some of it was targeted specifically presentations for library trustees, and some of it was more broader aspects of being a public official. Yeah, I mean, some of that was useful as well. I think the most useful parts were the parts targeted toward trustees. And it looks like in some areas they don't precisely have an FOL, the Friends of the Library. Sometimes they have advisory boards, that assist the trustees. And some of them do, and some of the boards do their own fundraising versus like an FOL or the foundation that we have. But I saved all the PowerPoints if any of you are interested.
Is that something you could email out to us?
Mm-hmm.
Friends groups often have a very different function in a state like Ohio, for example, where there are levies and taxes are paid directly to the library. The Friends group serves as um, as the group that starts the campaign because it involves voting, and they have a very different function, as well as being a source for raising money. They run the campaign because the library as a public entity cannot be on the ballot itself and cannot, go out and say, hey, vote for us, quite so directly that way. So they often have a different function, but we're very fortunate to have both groups and that they do primarily just fundraising for us.
It is interesting to hear from the participants of how it's set up in different areas of the country.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions about that conference? All right. I believe next we have a director's report.
Well, thank you very much. So we are going to look first at the fiscal year 26 budget, which was updated on the 7th yesterday. 10% of the years elapsed. I'm primarily just going to be going through the different categories and letting you know what's in each one. Because this is the first time that Chuck, you will have heard this, and I hope it will be a nice reminder for everybody else. So under personal services, we have obviously salary expenses, and that's the pay for our staff, but in addition, Social Security, Medicare, that sort of thing. The one thing you'll see there is that the substitute salary is at 16% and their FICA at 22%. Summer reading is a time we're very busy and also a time people wish to take vacations. So we do call in substitutes. Those are not regular employees. They are people we can call upon. Usually it's through a text, just say, we need somebody at, I'll use Charlotte Hall, tomorrow. Hey, can you come on out for us? And so they're kind of more like contract employees, and they will come for a shift and pick up some funds. And for us, it's really great because in many cases, there are people who are interested in working for the library. It gets a little bit of experience. But we do use more in summer than we tend to use many other times just for those two factors. We also then have our insurances there. So that's health, dental, vision, life insurance, long-term disability insurance. Full-time employees are eligible for those. Those come through the county. We do not have enough employees to contract those directly at any kind of reasonable rate. We also offer supplemental insurance through AFLAC that any employee can take part in. And this is also where the retiree insurance expenses are. That's listed as OPEB. And we have an account set aside to eventually, if it can be built up enough, to pay for the insurance costs for our retired employees. For now, we do those on a pay-go basis. You notice that it also has health clinic admin fees. We're in a 3-year contract with the county to be a part of the health clinic, which is on Moakley Street. Our employees can get vaccinations, have physicals, sports physicals can be done there, and it's open for kind of family members too. So that's just kind of an additional benefit that we're working on right now. And if you've got questions as I go along, please ask. Utilities, obviously just what the name says. We see that we are already tending a bit above budget for Lexington Park Electric. We have adjusted that figure and we think it will end up being accurate for the year. But it was a very hot July, which is kind of what that will be reflecting in those air conditioning expenses. You'll see that Leonardtown hasn't spent any money there, and that's because we pay those bills once they come in from the county. We pay our share and the Senior Activity Center pays there, so those often are delayed. Under our operating supplies, you'll see that those are just kind of the day-to-day things. that we need in the library, but it also includes our publicity. So the library does have a fund where we, market out things, and that can include doing some giveaways. And it also includes staff development. So when staff take a training that costs money or go to a conference that costs money, that's where that fund will come from. You see, we've got about $13,800 set aside for that, but that's not the full amount that we use. We also have a grant from the IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, for $20,000 for staff development. So we do our best to try to make sure staff are informed and up to speed and learning about and trying out new things. Over on page 3, we have circulation and program expenses. The circulation collection is our physical collection. So that's books primarily, but it's also going to be magazines, newspapers, DVDs, large print, Vox, which is a type of special reader, and playaways the same. Digital circulation is content for our Palace app, for Canopy, and for Comics Plus, which you're going to see later today, and for Overdrive, which is our primary digital provider for ebooks and digital audio books. The digital collection contracts include money for our archive. So we do have a digital archive of all the newspapers that have been in St. Mary's County. And as they come out, we update that. And those are accessible from our website. It also includes our T-Mobile Wi-Fi contract, which currently is being reimbursed by SMRLA. So under program services, that's what we're doing with all our programs. For example, the Reptile Wonders program that's going on probably right now as we speak. Have that program budgets provided by operating funds that you'll see here. The other half is supplemented by Friends of the Library donations.
Excuse me, Michael.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed this. Under digital collection, what is the adjustment? Was that grant money?
We did get money back. We de-emphasized Tupelo for quite a few months before we shut it down. So that will be money that will probably help us pay for a couple of other things, digital. But so yes, that is there.
I mean, I would be concerned this would be a reprogramming. If it's additional money coming in that was not in the budget that we approved, this would be a reprogramming.
Well,
It was a decision for the board to decide where the money goes. right?
it's digital funds that we spent for digital materials last year, so it needs to go back into digital funds.
No, there's nothing that says it has to go back into digital funds. It was last year's money that we're carrying, came back as a refund this year. So it's fresh money this year. It's an addition to our budget. So it could go anywhere. And if you wanted to go in digital collection, I think that's a decision for the board. It's a reprogramming. It's additional funds.
Well, we will want it to go into digital. Is going to be providing some of the new services that you'll see in a while here.
I will say that that's between the board and Michael, but when we planned the budget, we knew we were getting a refund. And so we based our digital collections budget on the fact that we knew we were getting a refund. So we were expecting this and wanted to use it for digital.
Okay, so is this amount in the budget that we approved in June?
No, because we didn't have the amount in June.
Okay, so
We didn't know what
additional
it's gonna,
funds.
we didn't know what it's going to be.
So it's additional funds. So that's a reprogramming effort.
So I'm understanding, Belinda, that you didn't have the exact amount, but you knew approximately what it would be and you planned for it to go into digital.
We didn't have an approximate. We just knew there was going to be funds. And also I will say that from an accounting standard, when you spend it from one and you get a reimbursement, the reimbursement's supposed to go back into the account that you spent it from, even if it's from a previous year. But I'll have to explain to the accountants and the audit next year if you move it.
And the reason that it was a refund, it was because it's Hoopla's pay-as-you-go.
But we had money that we put into a into a Hoopla account. So you pay money to them, and every time there was access to their content, they took money away from that. So yeah, so prepaid. So Hoopla, before we began the emphasis of it, because we were deciding that it was simply not fiscally responsible for us to continue, and also there were problems with their content that I pointed out to you. We began to de-emphasize it and cut down the number of items people could get on a monthly basis. And so we had put quite a bit of money into it, anticipating spending at least $80,000 a year. But after the de-emphasis, we didn't spend everything that we had put in there. So when we closed them out at the end of June, that was what was left. And it goes back into that account, as Belinda said, just because that's the account it came from. So we put it back into that.
Michael, to be sure I understand what you said earlier, in that same category under program services, half of that 20,000 is coming from?
No, 20,000 is from the operating budget. And in addition, we'll use Friends of the Library money for programming as well.
Does that show up anywhere in this document?
Page 7 or 9, or maybe
It'll
both
be under
pages.
Friends, yeah, under Friends expenses.
Okay, so help me understand. So last year's digital collection, the same line item was $60,000. And we spent $59,494, leaving $500 left. So help me understand where the 25,000 came from then.
This is a refund from Hoopla.
But this shows that we spent literally 99% of that line item.
Yes, because we spent it.
And we'll be,
And then we got $25,000 of it
Okay,
back.
so you had obligated, they took it,
Uh-huh.
and then after July 1st.
Yes, so
they sent
Hoopla,
you a refund.
Hoopla is prepaid. So we pay them and a certain amount throughout the year. We pay a couple times through the year. And then they deduct each month as the usage is done. So when we canceled at the end of June 30th, then after that, they calculated how much was left in our prepaid fund and returned it to us.
So do you
There was
feel that that should be reflected then in the 25 budget, the closeout numbers?
no,
that we should-
because according to the accountants, it's part of this fiscal year.
we didn't get
Okay,
it.
so
till
it was,
after.
right, I understand, it came back, was
Yeah.
spent in 25, came back in 26. Because
Yes.
it's new money coming back into the board, you're asking for a reprogramming of where should this money go?
No, we're asking that it stay in digital because we're anticipating trying to expand our digital collection.
Yeah.
After Hoopla is lost, and recall that was about 15% of our circulation. We're trying to make up for that in our other services. So we've added 2 new ones that you'll see in a while, Canopy and Comics Plus. We also want to increase our holdings in Overdrive and in Palace.
Could I just ask for your patience on one thing?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So I'm having trouble following this conversation a little
Okay.
bit. What it looks like is you paid $59,494, which was paid into an account that was then drawn down and there was $25,000 left after that got drawn down. Is that right?
I'm sorry.
Um,
What?
I'm trying to figure out where the 25,000 came from. It was because you had paid in 59,000 in 25, but it wasn't all used.
Right.
And
The
so
contract
it
was
came
canceled.
back
The
and now
contract
you
was
want to just leave it in the same account.
Yes.
The
Got
contract
it.
was canceled.
I think I got it now. Okay.
So, but it's not in the budget that we approved for
Yeah,
26.
that's correct.
This is an
Yeah.
additional $25,756.
But it was from that account last year and they just want to leave it in that
Right,
account.
so the
for next-
motion should be, where should we put the $25,000? Just trying to keep this because the board passes the budget. And this is basically a reprogramming of money. It's
Okay, so
additional.
you'd like a board motion to approve the 25,000 being left
And-
in the digital
right.
collection?
And this gives the director the authority to put that money and use that money in that place. It safeguards everybody that this was approved.
Okay, do you need a motion for that or what? I'm
Mhm.
trying to figure out what we're trying to get.
Somebody needs to make a motion and second it and then a vote.
Well, let me help Chuck.
I don't see, I'm not convinced that a motion is needed. I don't know, Judith, to me, this does not look like a reprogramming where we move money from one pile to another. You know, the fact that 60 was allocated in FY 25, 80 was allocated in FY 26. I don't know. I'm not convinced that this is a reprogramming that requires a motion. Can you say more about that?
Was it in the budget that we voted on?
No, but it's the same, it's
no.
the same category of funds.
Doesn't
I
matter.
don't see why we don't just
I mean,
carry it
really
over.
could- It really could go anywhere.
It is actually in the budgets we already voted on because it was voted last year. We voted on that. It's closed. It's staying in the same category. So this is the continuation of what carries over from last year.
But there's no reason it has to stay in that category. There's no reason. There's no legal reason. It could be put anywhere. There's nothing. I mean, the only thing that has to stay in the same category
I
is
think it does because we
basically
approved it
pile.
last year.
I think it would be a
it's
reprogramming if we were
fiscal year.
changing categories.
Okay,
If
right.
it's just
So-
staying in the same spot, it's not.
Right,
Okay,
because
so
we
all
approved
the
it
money
last
we
year.
have in the unassigned fund balance. That
It isn't unassigned though.
all the money we have in the unassigned fund balance was at one time in a budget line item.
No, it was never in a budget line item. I'm sorry, that's not correct. It sits in the MLGIP account. It's not budgeted.
No, at one time it was.
No,
Where does
no,
the- where
that
does the
money
unassigned
has
fund
never
balance
been
come from?
budgeted. It's always been in the MLGIP account. The money that's budgeted is what you have right in front of you. That other money is sitting there as an unexpended fund balance. It's not budgeted. It's unexpended fund balance.
The only
Very
part of the
curious.
MLGIP or the fund, as you guys refer to it, the fund balance that is budgeted is the fund balance line. And that supplements our income. So it's not going into any particular account, it's supplementing the overall income of our budget. So we do not assign any money from the fund balance to any accounts at any time.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know, we've had that fund balance for multiple years, so I can't go back more than my 5 years, but we've never assigned any of that money into a budget line other than as additional income to supplement our budget each year. And as you know, for the last couple of years, we have not had to go into the fund balance. This year, we probably will. But that fund balance is, by going into the fund balance, we're still staying within our budget because we budgeted that money. But that's the only money, and it was not budgeted to a specific line item. It was budgeted as income to supplement. Because as you know, as we've talked about with the commissioners, our income is not budgeted specifics. It's each of the line items that are just breaking out what the income is.
Well, I think what Judith is trying to get at, and I'm on this train too, how does that balance get to grow?
Well, we've explained this before.
Well, please again.
If we have a surplus at the end of the year, so we budget a certain amount each budget for coming from the fund balance. This past year it was $100,000. So we set that aside and say, okay, if we dip into the fund balance to $100,000, we budgeted for that. We haven't gone over budget. Now, this year, we may have to dip into that $100,000, or from last year, we may have to dip into the $100,000 sum. But that will mean at the end of the year, we had less money. Therefore, the fund balance could possibly shrink. If we have excess at the end of the year, the fund balance could possibly grow.
So the only way to grow the MLGIP account is for us to not dip into the fund balance and not meet the entire budget under the fund balance. So we'd have to not dip into the fund balance and still be under that. But by doing that, we are not being good stewards of the commissioner's money who gave us the funds to spend in the fiscal year on programs, staffing, and the use of the library for that fiscal year. the goal is not to grow the MLGIP account, it's to keep it safe so that we can keep safety money. We are a nonprofit government entity. We're not supposed to grow our money. We spend money that is from our county and our state in order to provide programming and issues and things for our community.
So I think what
I
I'm
get that,
hearing.
but I might offer an observation that one of the things we should be spending our money on is beefing up the OPEB investment account. And it seems to me the fund balance or this refund could serve that purpose because we've been a little lackluster in keeping up with that.
We've provided documents for you from Bolton saying we don't even have to have that OPEB account. It's not necessary. Most libraries in the state do not have it. It's just a question of priorities. Where's that money going to come from? And until the end of the year, we won't know if this is surplus or not.
So it's possible that in that particular item in the budget, we might have an unexpected expense before.
Or we might have an expected expense of trying to grow the digital collection, which is the area of our collection, which is truly growing. That's what's hot right now. The audiobooks especially. We're trying to provide for the public. And I agree with Michael that I don't think you need to repurpose this money. It came last year from that budget. This year, you've approved a none on that budget. It will go back into that budget line. There's no need for repurposing this.
Sharon, did you have a comment a minute ago?
Yes, so I think that there are two different ways to see this money. You can either see it as surplus from last year, or you can see it as it's a continuation of that line item. I think that both are valid ways to look at it. I think this is very early in the year to try to move something from one category to another. And I think that at this moment, considering a continuation is a reasonable way to move forward. I don't think it requires a vote because we approved it in that category last year. So yes, it could be considered surplus from last year, but I think it could, that would, if you consider it a surplus, it requires a new vote. If you consider it a continuation of the same line item, it does not. And at this point, I totally agree. It's too early to consider something to be surplus that gets moved into OPEB. We're at what, 10% of the budget so far? I wouldn't move anything out of any category at this point.
I wasn't suggesting where it should go. My suggestion was wherever it goes, it needs board approval. So if the director would like it to stay in digital collection, and that's his request, I'm not arguing with where it's going. I'm saying to the authority to cover the director and the library that it's an approved expenditure because it's not in the 26 budget.
So you're considering it to be surplus from last year then? At that point.
Yeah. And there's no legal reason it has to stay in one item. I don't believe it. Maybe that's a question the CPAs or the auditors could answer. Perhaps we could send an email out to them and ask them, is there any legal reason it has to stay in that digital collection? Could it, under the vote of the board, be moved somewhere else?
Well, may I say,
Stay here, it could stay here, but to cover the library and the board that we are approving this budget. It's not what we approved in June. So
May I
it could stay in digital collection, but it is a change to the 26 budget.
may I suggest then that we hold on this discussion until such time as we can get an answer from the accountants and the auditors?
Right. I mean, if they say absolutely cannot go anywhere else but digital collection, then no vote is needed. If they say it's discretionary money, then we need a vote.
Well, we'll get an answer for you from that, on that from our
Makes
accountants.
sense? And this covers everybody.
We'll get an answer for that from our accountants for you. Okay, so moving on. Yes, so we just finished talking about programming, and we have two funds for that, and one comes from, in fact, from the Friends. We'll move on to virtual services contracts. That's all our contracts that support all of our online services. So we often have to pay to have a particular, program or whatever that we use digitally. We're mobile library. That's all our expenses. Oh, so I'm sorry, that will cover our statistics database, our reservation system, so that people can reserve a meeting room, for example. Our people counters, our Adobe licenses. We have to pay for our website domain name. All those things come out of that. Mobile library is all the expenses that do cover that particular vehicle, and then also our outreach programming there. So we talked about the program that's going on in outreach right now. That would be coming from that line. Professional services are legal expenses, security expenses, our accounting, our payroll costs, our bank fees. Contracts include our Amazon annual fee. We have a Zoom annual fee. We have time to care collaborative fee. We have a small fee for mobile texting that we do for all staff. So those all come from that.
Before we go on, you had hinted at one of your updates that we might have to brace ourselves for a spike in legal fees.
That is a possibility. If you're talking about possible collective bargaining efforts, that is a possibility that we would need to consider. That's the only unusual legal fee I'd be expecting to see. We do consult with our attorneys on some personnel issues throughout the year, but those are expected. If collective bargaining were to happen, you could anticipate Anne Arundel just finished the process, think $120,000, $150,000 in legal expenses.
Should we have a reserve for that?
Yes, that's what the unexpended fund balance would be for, which is currently about, we'll see that figure in a couple minutes, about $490,000 if I'm remembering properly.
So you think that that provides enough for the reserve in the event we are faced with a
It should provide enough. Charles is setting us, who's just voted, setting aside $250,000 for that purpose. So they're anticipating it going on, and it took Anne Arundel 10 months of negotiations in which you have the attorneys present in every case and then getting advice from them outside as well.
But you think we have enough reserve?
Yes, we have enough reserve should that happen.
And if it doesn't happen, then we would expect that those reserves would be unspent and would carry.
Yes, it would stay. We have a policy in place that the library maintains 1 month of expenses if possible in its unexpended fund balance. If it gets over 2 months, then that amount is put towards other purposes. I don't anticipate us ever having 2 months worth of an unexpended fund balance, which is too bad because that's what's generally recommended for government entities for accounting, but I don't see we'll ever get there.
Okay, help me out. Where is that in the?
That's going to be your very last page.
Okay,
that's going to be page 10. No, I'm sorry, take that back. That's going to be page
11. This is the 491,806. Fund balance. You got it.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
okay.
Let's see here. Moving on to page 4, we have sundry expenses, postage, for example, vehicle maintenance. That's not for the mobile library. That's for our small van. Mileage reimbursement for staff for going to different places. Our insurance cost is the primary cost there. Memberships to different community organizations, and it also comes out of that, and national organizations comes from that. Furniture and equipment provides, desks, chairs, cabinets, that kind of thing. We always wish we could make it a lot more, but because library furnishing is extremely expensive, it does last, it's built to last, but that's just not something that we set as a high priority.
More heavily used, I imagine.
It's very heavily used. Especially in the children's area, it gets a workout. Moving down to our technology.
Michael, before you go on,
Yeah,
if
go
I
ahead.
may, go back up to that top category, insurance. Will you unpack that as to what types of insurance are included in $30,000?
Sure.
All vehicle.
Basically, anything that you can think of. So that's going to be vehicle insurance, our workers' comp insurance, general liability insurance. So for example, this board is insured for $1 million. Should someone accuse us of malfeasance or otherwise, it's the auto insurance. It insures the library drivers who use that. It's insurance for the building and the collection. So all of that is in part of the insurance costs.
When you say the building, it's the county's building.
It's the stuff in the building is
So yeah,
insured.
it's the stuff in the, so we own everything. We own these tables, we own these chairs. If there were a natural disaster, we would want to have these insured in order to cover that
Right.
expense.
Contents, but not the structure.
The building itself, no, we do not own. That is the county's building. So for example, when we want to have something done to the building, like a renovation here at Charlotte Hall that I'll talk about in a little while here, that's the county who actually does the work. They have the contract. They spend the money, not us. This is taking longer than I thought, but I think it's informative. So we'll continue on. So under the technology, we have different IT contracts that are fairly expensive to keep the network going. So that's like new servers as well for equipment and maintenance. We pay photocopiers, we lease those, we do not own them, but it's actually a better deal for us than buying them and having to replace them every several years. Different IT furniture and equipment will be, for example, a new server as necessary, and occasionally those need to get updated because the older ones do not support the newest software in many cases. So those are the primary budget lines. You see that on page 5, we do budget in possible money coming in from the Friends or donations.
Those are expenses to get those.
I'm sorry, what, please?
I said those are expenses to get those donations as opposed to the donations themselves.
Well, the way we do it is we kind of set aside an expected amount. And then later in this document, you see where we're actually getting in and spending out there. But basically, we budget these amounts as kind of something like we're expecting to have this much expense.
Chuck, it says expenses at the top of the page, but that's income.
It's expenses right here.
These-
Hold on.
These are
Hold on.
expenses.
Hold on. We expect to get a donation of $50,000, which you will see on the income page. So we expect to expense $50,000 of that donation.
Budgeting to spend 50,000 from the FOL.
On what?
Well, the FOL has 4 particular things that we can spend money on. So we can spend money on staff development, We can spend money on the collection, and that's probably where a lot of it goes. We can spend money on programming, and we can spend money on furniture and equipment. So basically, those are the only things that the Friends let us spend money on, and we have a extensive MOU with them.
And to be clear, as Michael stated earlier, when he was doing the program budget, he stated that we spend half the total programming budget, half is operating funds, which you saw on the earlier page. The other half comes from this FOL donation. So the FOL expense, at least half of that is programs.
Okay.
So the FOL money was part of it was supporting Hoopla. But so the way this happens each year is they give us usually 2 checks. We just received one in July for $50,000. That's the proceeds from their book sale each spring. And then they're going to be having a quick book sale coming up here later in August. And they typically have one in December. And then they're also having online sales these days. So after the one in December, they'll typically give us another smaller check. But we, the Friends are wonderful and they're energetic and we're delighted with them. But it's not something that we say, well, we know we're going to get, all this money from them. We try to be fairly realistic about what might come from the Friends. We know we're going to get 50,000 because they've given it to us. So we'll just see if any more comes in.
So Chuck, this is the only money that the board does not have purview over. It's private funds and we oversee public funds.
I
So
see.
this line item is kind of out of our touch.
Okay, thank you. I find it weird that we have an expense in anticipation, an anticipated expense in anticipation of income.
Well,
Opposed to just showing the income and then putting the expense.
Yeah, I mean, when do we get the decision from FOL on what they'll give us?
We already have.
It is, it's okay.
Yeah, we already have 50,000 this year.
Budgeting is always an art.
Yeah.
It's not accounting.
Would be one way to put the FOL money was sort of like an open-ended grant within the limitations of the MOU.
That would be one way to understand it. Yeah.
Whereas a typical grant, you're very specific purpose.
Yeah.
So for the first line item of FOL expense and income for the fiscal year, we have the FOL does their book sale in the spring. It takes them a while to do their books. They let us know generally in late May or early June what they expect to be able to give us. And that is the line item that I put into the budget. So we knew that they were going to give us $50,000 for this one. So we knew that was coming July 1. So that is why this income/expense is that amount in this budget. We expect another one, but we don't know. So I can't put that into the budget.
Okay. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, it just seems odd,
Thank you
doesn't
for
it? Yeah,
explaining.
yeah. We do get some money from the Southern Maryland Regional Library Association, grant money for professional development expenses, and that typically goes to pay tuition. We do offer tuition assistance for our, go ahead.
Can I state that page 5 is a summary of pages 10 and 9. So if you see the expenses for FOL donation expense and the SMRLA, if you go to page 10,
right,
that is where the breakdown of those expenses occur. That is where you see where admin gets FOL and the program's FOL, as well as all of those donations, who's got it, where the donations came from, which branch, and who gets to spend it. So page 5 is a summary of page 10 for FOL and donations, and then page 9 for the has the SMRLA professional grant.
got it. And you're expecting that they gave you 50,000 last year, so they're going to give you 50,000 this year.
Well, they gave us 50,000. They basically told us in May, once their book sale was done, hey, we think we're going to give you this. and I attend the Friends of the Library Board meetings.
Okay.
And so we had an idea of what it was going to be.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. And I know you'll have questions as we go along, but happy to meet with you anytime to talk about those as well. Let's move over to funding and income over on page 6 very quickly. I'm going to try to speed up just some here, but do stop with questions. We get about 76% of our budget from the county and roughly 22% from the state, and everything else is an other. So for services, that's the photocopying and things like that, that we charge nominal amounts for. Lost and damaged, we no longer collect fines, but we anticipate getting some money back if somebody loses a book or damages a book, and that's what that amount will be. This year, we set aside use of the fund balance for about $50,000, and we may or may not dip into that. We try not to. The MLGIP account is where most of our money is stored. Basically, money that comes from the state and the county goes into that account, and we draw out from it as we need it. And that account does get some nice interest. So that's kind of where we are with that. We do get FOL donations that are broken out on page 7, and we'll give you totals for that. And other donations, people come to the library and just say, hey, I'd like to give you money. And it's typically almost always allocated. Somebody will give us money at, for example, Lexington Park. They want it used at Lexington Park. There's your Smyrna Professional Development Grants. We anticipate having other grants of about $40,000.
And again, that grant line is a summary of page, hold on, 9, I think,
9, yes, page 9. We break that down for you.
into the specific grants.
So on page 8, you'll just see that we if we sort of see any increases in any of those get booked.
Those get booked by the accountants quarterly when they're closing the books.
We have then on page 9, we just have a breakdown of a lot of where the grants are coming from. Do you have any specific questions about any of the grants? Please ask that.
Belinda?
Yeah.
When you have to choose between using the SMRLA grant staff development line and the rest of the budget staff development line, which one?
You
do
mean-
have a pattern for that?
So
Or
if there's no SMRLA staff development, it's the
the state. yeah,
the state one. I do, for the most part, we will book everything into the grant first, so that we can get that reimbursement back from the state before we go into our budget. What you see in the staff development line in July is actually for it's for the mobile libraries conference that they go to each year. But SMRLA has also given us a small stipend for staff development for conferences specifically. So I put it into that line because we will be reimbursed that money.
Thank you.
Looking at page 8, that top line, it could be either deleted or relabeled, could it not?
What line?
Investment, OPEB Trust Schwab.
Yeah, it actually says Schwab/Vanguard. You just can't see that
You can't see that, yeah, but
because the accountants haven't moved. And I need to know what they're going to do within our accounting system when the account moves. Because right now that account is marked as Schwab. I believe they can still use the same one, but they haven't done Q1 for this fiscal year. So I need to wait and see what they're going to do. So those numbers might change, and then that's when I'll relabel.
Do the accountants determine what the categories are called as well as the 5-digit account codes?
The account codes were created when we started QuickBooks, and this is what they were labeled when I started. This actually wasn't provided in your budget before I started.
So over on page 10, you'll see that that's where we kind of break out the FOL money and expenses. And also the sundry donations that may come into the library. On page 11, you'll see what we have in the different accounts. There are 2 PNC accounts and then the MLGIP account. And right now, as you've already noted, Chuck, the total fund balance available minus the restricted funds and the FOL and donation funds are restricted and not counted in that. It's $491,000 sitting in the
Actually,
expended fund balance.
the FOL and donation money is actually in our checking account, not the MLGIP account.
Okay.
Those restricted funds are funds that the state has dropped in. They're either grants or they're our operating funds that we have to move over because the state drops our operating fund grant into the MLGIP account, which I then have to move. So they just dropped 164 on July 31st. But I needed money to pay payroll before that, so I pulled out 150 before that because I didn't know the exact amount this year. So there's about $10,000 there, $12,000 there that's left in that's still operating funds, plus the interest rate, which is also part of our operating budget. So those two are what the restricted funds include. So they include any grant that's dropped in that we've requested reimbursement from. It's the interest rates and then any of this state funding.
So that did take longer than I anticipated, but I think it was very useful to go through it and give everybody an overview of where the money comes from, where it sits, why it sits. Any final questions about the fiscal year 26 budget? And if not, I'll very quickly go through the fiscal year 25 budget by saying it's not done yet. It's into the process of being audited right now. And we just yesterday had an expense that will go against last year. And the accountants will also take a look at the various expenses and they may move some into last year. So we don't yet know our final budget for the year. We will be presenting a profit and loss statement for you from the accountants. And once we get that, we will officially know what our fiscal year 25 position is.
As of right now, the line items that I have highlighted in yellow are the ones that I am still expecting an adjustment to from the accountants. They have finished Q3, but have not finished Q4, plus the final adjustments for after July 31st, anything that occurred that was still part of FY25. So that includes the salaries for that final pay period that actually got paid in July, but is part of FY25. The accounting and audit costs because they hadn't sent the budget for what they were doing for FY25. And then the use of the fund balance because I have to determine that once I get those final numbers.
So yellow is not final.
Yellow is not final.
The green is good.
Yes. The green is good as far as I know, unless an accountant makes a small adjustment. So there still could be small adjustments. I don't expect anything big in those accounts.
So we will know, excuse me, our exact financial position when we get that profit and loss statement. We're going to have that for you as soon as we possibly can. We anticipate going into the 100,000 a little bit. But it's certainly not by no means the full amount. So again, we'll let you know kind of where we are as soon as we can. It is now 10:40. Typically at this time, you sometimes ask for a 5-minute break. I want to know if,
I would like to take one.
okay, then you might want to have that motion.
Get a motion to take a 5-minute break.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 See. So-
Aye.
All right, we are back in session. We could continue with.
Yes. Thank you very much, John. We are up to what's happening in your library, and you have a sheet that looks like that. I'm not going to go into it in depth today, but we do have a presentation for you. I do wish to point out under staff, Rena Nguyen selected to present at this year's Teen Connect conference specifically on how she has incorporated direct feedback from our community's teens to create a space for them, which is described as very slay. And I'm sure you're all up to date on your teen lingo these days, and you understand what very slay means. It includes a teen painted window murals, area for relaxation with a beanbag chair, a weighted stuffed cat, and QR codes for watching serene animal webcams. So Rini, fantastic work, really delighted to see that. And I'm going to let Sarah now show you two of our new digital services. So we dropped Hoopla. It had movies and it had comics. So at a far lesser cost, we're going to go on ahead and provide two services that also do those things because we no longer offer them digitally with Hoopla going. So Sarah, take it away.
All right. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the two services and what they offer. The first one is Canopy, and Canopy is streaming video exclusively. It's available in the browser for Android, for iOS. There's a Roku app, smart TV apps. Our customers can sign up with their, they need an email address and password and put their library card in, and then they have access to a wide variety of films, documentaries, TV series. There's quite a bit of content from BBC and from PBS. They are also, Canopy is adding more and more popular content. The most recent Oscar Best Picture winner, Anora, is available on Canopy. And every month, our customers get 12 tickets that they can use. And films and TV series are anywhere from 1 to 5 tickets each. That depends on the distributor of the film, the length of the TV series. You get a season at a time for your number of tickets. And you can watch them as much as you like. We also have Canopy Kids. That's up at the top. There's a link into the Canopy Kids collection in the top right. And that collection does not use tickets. So people can go into Canopy Kids and they can watch as much content as they want in the month. It includes storybooks, so popular children's picture books turned into kind of video stories. There's STEM content. There's, again, a lot of content from PBS. That is all available, as I said, at no ticket usage for our customers. They can watch as much of that as they like each month. We had a number of new accounts created in July. We're working on still getting the word out about this. We had 52 people actually check out and watch films or kids content, 151 circulations, we'll call them, and over 300 plays. So when you add up all of the kids content and the TV seasons and episodes, over 300 things were watched. So that was Canopy. The second one we've added is Comics Plus, which is comics, manga, and it also includes picture books in the children's collection. We have 4 unique links into Comics Plus, which is kind of nice. It's based on age level. So you can access just the children's collection, just the tween collection. The one you're seeing on the screen here is the teen collection, and then you can just access the full collection that has everything. Comics Plus is an unlimited use resource, so our customers can log in with their library card number and PIN, and they can add as many books as they want to their shelf and read them whenever they want. We saw a lot of use in July by, again, a smaller number of people, 45 people, but they added 857 titles to their shelf. So we're seeing a lot of use. There's a lot of series content, a lot of the manga, there's 20, 30, 40 volumes in a manga series. And so they add those to their shelf and then they can read them whenever they like. Yeah, so we had great feedback from our staff who tested this last spring, and some good feedback from customers right now as well. And I did want to, yeah. So we have been, we included it in our newsletters in July. So it went out in all the newsletters. Our website right now is summer reading focused. Once summer reading ends and we have some homepage space, we'll probably put a link to some of these in a bucket. At outreach events, we're going to be reaching out to people to let them know that we have this, and just continuing with staff training so that our staff are also promoting. Yep. I wanted to also mention we had Palace up. We've talked a little bit about that. One of the biggest formats used in Hoopla was audiobooks, and we know that that was a big loss for people. And so in Palace, we have two specific collections that I think are of interest to our Hoopla users. The first one is that top line. Those are the titles that we have licensed from the Palace Marketplace that are Audible Studios titles. Those are not available to libraries in Libby. Amazon does not sell to libraries any place other than the Palace Marketplace. So we have titles here. Andy Weir, who wrote Project Hail Mary and The Martian, his titles are here. Right now, the really popular one is Dungeon Crawler Carl. Anybody familiar with that series? It's very big. The audiobooks are apparently excellent, and they are only available through Audible. So we do have the entire series in Palace now. And then we also have our Blackstone Unlimited collection, which is that second line. That is over 5,000 unlimited use, always available audiobooks from Blackstone. So, we have a lot of users who come in and who were using Hoopla and checking out, 2 or 3 audiobooks, 5 or 6 audiobooks a month and listening to them. They can now come in and get those unlimited no holds on those titles.
So like Hoopla, there's no wait on those. It's simultaneous access. The other interesting thing about them is that if you download them, they stay on your phone till you decide you don't want them anymore. They don't have a return period.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. So that was one of my plans as we get more data, through this year, to be able to look at, what we spent on audiobooks last year versus this year. So yeah, for sure.
Did we lose the audio?
I don't know. Can you still hear me? Okay, Michael. You have to go into every single one of those services to figure out what they're at. A lot of you. So, have you thought about ways to?
So it can get a little bit tricky. So Libby content is in the catalog, so you can access that there. Because we share a catalog with Calvert and Charles counties, we are the only library right now that offers the Blackstone Unlimited titles. And so we put them in the catalog, then and then Charles and Calvert County customers can't access them. Same with Comics Plus. They do not have that resource. Canopy is one that Calvert and Charles have had for a couple of years. And so we may be able to get that video content into the catalog. It's something we need to discuss with them and with Smerla, but that is an option for that one.
The other complexity is access to the titles once you've found them. So I find it in the catalog, but I don't know that I have to have, say, the Libby app to get it. And so that's a bit of a challenge for us as well. We've been working for years on a seamless system that will do this. I know that Palace is working on a web version that if you have the Palace app, you open a title on the you open a title on the catalog, it will open on your device. One other thing we really need to keep an eye on is that as of June, Amazon has directly entered the library ebook market themselves. They've never been there before. And we need to look and see what their costs are and whether or not they'll keep customer privacy. I don't necessarily want Amazon knowing what our library readers are looking at. But obviously with their resources behind them, they could become the major player in library ebooks. So we'll be keeping an eye on what's going on with that. Any questions for Sarah? Well, thank you so much. These are exciting services. We are starting to see uses of them. And as I said earlier, library digital is a growing area. Our books are doing okay. Our DVD circulation's way down because people are now doing streaming, and libraries are largely shut out of streaming unless it's something like a Canopy. So we're doing our best to keep up with the formats that people want to use, but digital remains a huge growth area for us. And so we are going to be making sure that we're providing as much content there as we can at a reasonable cost. Thank you, Sarah. Charlotte Hall renovation update. You may have seen me leave briefly to take a phone call earlier. That was library business. I was getting an update from Gary Whipple about this project. It is still, the RFP is still in sort of the county processing. They submit it to the finance department and procurement, and they look at it and they come back with questions, but they're anticipating it being on the street very soon. And so Chuck, just an update that everybody else already knows, that's $300,000 this year. It will hire an architect who needs to give us detailed plans, a construction schedule or an estimated construction schedule, estimated construction costs. And we need all that information to apply for state grants for capital use. They give away $7.5 million a year, and I hope that they will continue to. It used to only be 5. We got, for Leonardtown, we got 1.6 million. We're going to ask for 2 for a renovation of this building. And what we can do with it will depend. Let's say we get 10 million next fiscal year in 28, or I'm sorry, fiscal year 28, which is when we're trying to apply the grant for. We would have 7.5 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but when you start doing stuff to buildings, it's not. They did just update the fire alarm system here in this building. They're supposed to update HVAC before this project happens, but we are anticipating a major renovation here that will make it more open, more space with any luck, certainly far more sort of 21st century library inside. So that's kind of where we are with that.
How do you divide the cost of, will we actually pay for the cost of the renovation?
The county has,
The county owns the building.
The county owns the building, so they have 5 million set aside for fiscal year 28 that is earmarked to do this project.
Okay.
We want to get another $2 million in grants. And the 300,000 for the year we're in right now is county money. So no, we don't pay for that directly out of our pocket. And we're very grateful for the county and the county commissioners for voting to do a renovation here.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so we're going to have to apply for that on a competitive basis. And we'll be doing that in April. Next April. Yes. And because you apply for it and then it gets put into the governor's budget it will be the start of 27, and the money will become available for July of 27, which is fiscal year 28.
That's above and beyond the 7.5
No,
million.
we've got 5 million from the county. We're going to ask for 2 from the capital grant program. I think it's 5.5 million that the county has. So we're going to ask for another 2, which obviously will allow us to do something substantially more deluxe. I have sat on the committee that gives away the grant funds 5 times. So I'm pretty conversant with what we need to get for them, and that will get us that money. Our main task is to make this building look as terrible as we possibly can when we apply for a grant. Like it's all but falling down. I've told the other board members this before. When we applied for Leonardtown, it was easy because we were in the Armory building, and all I had to do was go around and take pictures. So above the main electrical panel in the Armory building, there was a water leak. Snap.
Right.
What could go wrong? So when we turned that in, they said, can we even give them more than they're asking for? This building is in far better shape than the Army building was. We'll find ways to make it look like it really needs to be updated.
And will that merge the Smyrla with this library, or will they just continue to remain independent?
This building was built with state funds and county funds, and Smyrla has an MOU. They will be staying here.
Be any, might have mentioned this before, but be any community input into the plans?
As part of the design process, we do have community sessions. So the architect will usually arrange for that. And we invite the public to come say, what would you like to see in the library? And typically what they want is much more space, a much larger collection, and much more deluxe facilities. They'll probably want a maker space, maybe a sound room, and it'll just be a question of what we can provide with the money that we've got. But yeah,
like I first thought was like outreach with the Civic Association over in Golden Beach.
Yeah. So no, we'll be putting out the word, please come tell us what you want at your library. And it's just part of the process. As I say, the architect typically arranges public sessions for that. And then you will get a presentation of the plans for approval. The county will have the ultimate say. The county commissioners will have to, vote to hire this architect, for example. We're not hiring the architect ourselves. They will vote for who's going to build the addition or do the renovation. But we do hope to get more money from the state.
While we're on this topic and for Chuck's edification, what do you see for operations sustainability here once all the construction kicks in?
Well, we hope we're going to be able to stage. So could we, for example, keep this room open and have limited services here? Maybe a couple of computers, people can pick up their collection here. It gets complicated when you're having to work on parts of the building. We do hope to enclose this little courtyard in out here. So possibly what we might have to do is move some staging around. There's an entrance out front. So maybe for a while it's there while they're building on other things. It's going to have to be something we work out with the architect. We do want to try to do that. And most architects understand when you're doing a renovation that that is something you want to do. There might be times when, due to construction, we'll have to have the building closed, in which case we'll probably have the mobile library here.
Thank you.
I have a question about the library highlights page. I know we've moved on to Charlotte Hall, but I didn't want to interrupt before.
What is that question?
Under your events and services section, the second to the last, cardboard armor building. What is the chomp saw?
The Chomp Saw is a new makerspace piece of equipment that Lexington Park Library has acquired, and it is a safe for children cardboard cutting machine. And it is really cool. If you get a chance to check it out at Lexington Park Library, I think you should take that moment. But essentially, it is a little machine that can cut cardboard into any shape you want it to be. So kids can build all kinds of stuff, and it's completely safe for children.
Thank you, Dorothy.
And something else I wanted to mention about the teen section in Leonardtown, they do take that very seriously. I went to the um, what was it? The memory lab equipment area with my sister. So she was in there doing that. So I came out and sat in the section, and they came out and gently asked if I was a teenager. And since I was not, they asked if I could locate somewhere else. So that was nicely done, but they do have that section. They do guard that section. So that's
We will leave the teen areas open some parts of the day when teens are not expected, but in the children's and the teen areas, when we're expecting teens there, we're pretty careful about who's there. We try not to be obnoxious about it, but we do want the teen to have their own space, and the teens, more importantly, want to have their own space. And they don't want the children in it either, thank you. This is teens. So you'll have people who are like 12 and 13 want to be over in the teen area. Yeah. But yes, thank you, Dorothy. Ellie, if no further questions, I do have 2 action items for you to vote on, please. And then you have substantial business of your own, I know. The first is the tactical plan, which I presented last month, and you decided that you'd rather wait until you had a fuller quorum to vote on it. These are not just items that are operational. So it doesn't say we're going to do programming. We're going to have youth services programming. We're going to have teen programming. We're going to have adult programming. We're going to do, we're going to offer Wi-Fi. These things are just sort of new or something that's a little additional in some of the things we almost always do. So I did present a tactical plan this year, and last month I presented that we had pretty much accomplished the tactics we had set for ourselves. When we developed our strategic plan a year ago, you said what you wanted was kind of a yearly plan for what we're going to do to help realize that strategic plan. And that's what this document is. So I submit it to you, ask questions if you wish something added to it. This basically is sort of the little plus items we're looking at for the upcoming year. It's fungible. Some we may get into and decide we really, that's just not within our means, but this is what we hope to do. And it's 2-sided. Each of the 4 areas of our strategic plan: digital literacy, embrace innovation, community gathering, and young minds.
Under embrace innovation, is sentence 2 correct? Seems like of the should be removed.
Looks like there's a
embrace replace old connectors on the network's backbone.
with
It should say with new connectors. Sorry.
under digital literacy, number 4, the training for the public, how much of that will get into ethical use of AI? Because obviously we don't want students submitting AI written term papers instead of something to write themselves.
We try to do quite a bit with what we'll call digital literacy, meaning the proper uses of digital work. I trust that the teachers, but Chuck can tell us far better, can tell us what's sort of going on with AI use in classrooms. I've been following it a little bit. I think the New York Times even had an editorial the other day, how to AI proof the humanities. But I know that students may be making improper use of AI, claiming work that's AI generated as their own. But yeah, so we do quite a bit of ethical use of things.
I think that these tactics look great in broad strokes. I would just encourage us to think about how we can measure whether these have been done or not, and sort of adding quantifiable metrics into the goals. Words like enhance can be hard to kind of say at the end of the day if we enhanced or not. So it might be useful to kind of drill down a little bit and say that You know, and embrace innovation, number 5, enhance and market maker spaces. If we want to say that we want to add, you know, 1 resource per branch to the maker space, and that by marketing it, we're saying that we want it mentioned in at least 2 library newsletters or, you know, some other things. It might be helpful for the team to kind of drill down a little bit and quantify a little more to sort of say how we're going to assess whether or not we accomplish these tactics. So some food for thought there.
Yeah, we had a spreadsheet, if I remember right, for the fiscal year we just ended.
Yes, and what happens with that is that I will move these into a spreadsheet, but it's much harder to see them in a spreadsheet form. So I just wanted you to see all of them. And so, you know, like in Enhance and Market Makerspaces, what we do on that spreadsheet is as we do something, we talk about it. So we can say, for example, we've added 3 items to the Leonardtown Makerspace or something like that, or how much marketing we did, or the uses of it. But some of it is just general. You know, we're going to market it. That's just sort of an emphasis that we have.
I think to that point, do you have outcomes associated with each of these that you could in fact measure? Because a lot of these are pretty general. Expand, continue to expand, strongly market for all.
And we can talk about the efforts that we do, and some of them can be quantified, and some of them probably won't have strict quantity, you know, quantification.
I think if you could tie them to some outcomes, then it would be easy then for you to say, yeah, we met this, we did it, right?
Yeah.
So one example that we talked about previously is to while you're here at the top talking about working with Smerla to increase digital holdings and subscribing to Canopy, we're wanting to see that circulation reach the same levels as Hoopla. So that could be a measurable way to show that we're meeting the goal.
Or at least having the numbers.
Well, so basically number 2 is already finished. We have investigated and we have subscribed to Canopy, but we can then quantify the figures. Here's what Canopy's bringing us. I don't think it will have any trouble exceeding the video circulation in Hoopla. Now, the overall circulation in Hoopla, it's not apples to apples, but just the video part, sure. And I think we probably are getting close because Hoopla really didn't get a lot of video hits. Number 3, for example, we can say, yes, okay, here's the programs we did that were just something like using Zoom or something like that. I mean, you know, so we can quantify most of these things.
And just to be clear, we don't always put it in this as to what the requirements of the quantifications are, but we track everything. You see those stats on a quarterly basis. So you'll see the stats of Canopy and of Comics Plus and how they compared to Hoopla last year. And because we keep last year's on there. So we're always quantifying at all times. And, you know, enhance our makerspace. We are literally building a makerspace in Lexington Park. That's a huge enhancement. It's not 1 or 2 items. It's an entire space. And Leonardtown is always adding to their makerspace. So that's just something that we're always wanting to do. So we don't necessarily, some of them don't want to put a quantification on them because we don't want to limit ourselves to doing that. But these are all things that we are always working on.
Totally agree. The thing I like about quantification is it allows you to choose between categories, where if you've met your goal in one category, you might shift emphasis or some of your, you know, if we're asking librarians every checkout to tell people about Canopy, and now Canopy's reached a point where we've saturated as much as we think, or we've met the goal there, then we can have them transfer to describing something else instead. That was the only place I could see putting those kinds of metrics in, to be able to say we're keeping even in all the categories.
Ahead of time, it's harder for me to quantify some of them. So I say enhanced makerspace. I don't know exactly what we're going to get as the year goes on, but the quantification can come in as we do things. And at the end of the year, next June, you'll get a report out on, or probably next July, because I'd like to finish the fiscal year, you'll get a report out. Here's what happened with that. So I do ask if you would approve these as our tactical plan.
I don't know. I mean, should we revise some of the language to be a little more specific? For example, if you say, just lost it. There was one about Spanish language, I thought.
It's not number one under, or number two rather, community gathering.
Okay, increase marketing materials in Spanish. That's really vague. You could send out one more email in Spanish and that would be increasing your marketing. So I don't know if we should maybe refine this a little bit more with some subsections of what could be added for our evaluation next year. And I think Chuck's right about outcome. You can produce a lot of widgets, but what did you do? Did you make the world a better place? So
I think
not
this
sure.
is an attempt to allow you to demonstrate success. And so I think maybe what we could do would be to approve this with the notion that maybe at the next meeting you would show up with some quantifiable objectives on this that would, because the goal here is, I mean, everybody wants you to succeed at this. So it's not a matter of we disagree with what you have in mind, it sounds like, but more like, how can we help make this be as successful as possible? And so maybe the thing to do would be to prove it, to approve it with the idea that next time you come back with some more quantifiable outcomes. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think we don't want to have a disconnect of expectations and actions. So like that increased marketing of materials in Spanish, our expectation might be in our minds, we want a 50% increase. And the director might think 20% is good. So we really need to, I don't want to have that
services
a
to
mist.
incarcerated individuals. And
Yes.
the question is, well, what does that mean? You know,
Right.
how would you
Yeah.
do that? Or what
So-
do you have in mind?
And if we don't,
We know exactly what we have in mind. We're going.
we don't know
to-
that.
Yeah,
we're
we
going
don't
to-
know.
We don't know.
That's, and
Well,
then when you do it, then we know.
We've already started, and you see under outreach on Library Highlights 2025, first one-on-one, oh, that's the Veterans Home, never mind. We are now doing veteran tech assistance here at the Veterans Home. Where is this?
So I think this is an example of where you have the additional information. We just like to see it. You actually know what you mean by these things, but and that is exactly what we want. We just want to be able to see it. And it's okay if you put in a number and decide, you know, we didn't actually need to expand the Spanish language collection by 75%. But setting those goals allows us to see measurably where we're going. Describing what you mean by expanding services to incarcerated individuals by saying, you know, the mobile library is going to go to the prison once a month, or we have these additional programs. Giving that detail gives us something to measure.
Yeah, so the mobile library is going there, and we're also having a book discussion group at the.
Exactly.
sure.
That needs to go into the tactical plan so we have it recorded.
Well, my sense would be that where you're going to see it is as we do it and as we accomplish it.
Then it's not measurable.
Well, there's no
As part of a tactical plan, tactical plans give measurable requirements or measurable elements that you're going to achieve. And then you can measure against them at the end of your year to see if you met your tactical plan.
Sharon, I don't disagree specifically with what you're saying, except that you're asking us to know in advance that we're going to do these specific programs in the detention center, when that is a discussion between the mobile library coordinator and the detention center as to what they need and what they want and what we can provide. So we can't say, like in our tactical plan, we're going to do this program at the detention center because we don't know if we can. So I think that language means we want to enhance or improve or add more. And then what we would do is list what we've done. That's the quantifiable number, is these are the items and programs that we've done to increase our contact with the detention center. I think that's why we keep it vague, because we can't always determine what the program is going to be. And also we set programs, specifically programming for the whole year. And I'm just talking about programs, but this is just an example. We set programs for the fall, like now, and we're doing it based on what we see the needs to be right now. We set programs for the spring, in the fall, and we're setting those programs based on what we see at that time. So we can't quantify what programs we're going to create before the fiscal year starts and tell you what they are, because we are trying to meet the needs of the community as time is passing. And you know that time is always changing and things are always changing, and our staff are trying to adjust and grow and learn what the community itself needs. And sometimes they have to pivot in the moment and decide that that program probably won't work and they need to switch it. So asking us to write specific programs or specific things we're going to do makes it difficult, because if we don't do that program because it wasn't something that would work, then we haven't met your goal.
Right, absolutely. I'm not asking, I don't think any of us want a list of the programs or a list of the things you're going to do. What I'm looking for is a way that we can say the list that you give us at the end of the year met what you wanted to do. So if you list then the things that you did for the incarcerated individuals outreach, how do I know that it was enough or that it enhanced? One thing could enhance, 50 things could enhance. But if you said something like increase your outreach to incarcerated individuals by 50%, you know how many you're talking to right now. You can measure at the end of the year that we had this many people attend the programs. Those
Okay.
kinds of things are measurable.
Yes, we can look at that. We can talk about that. Again, some of those things aren't realistic. So for example, back to the detention center, they were doing a book club. They've been doing a book club for several months now. They had 8 or 9 participants. Well, guess what? Those people have now left the detention center and we have a new group. They had 1. So being able to increase by 50% the view, how many people we see at the detention center depends entirely on who's in the detention center that month.
Well, then the measure is the events.
Well,
Then, and you guys know what you can measure. You
Okay.
can measure the events or increase over this year,
But
but
we
next year.
can't guarantee in the detention center an increase. We can't
Is it?
guarantee it.
How do
Is it
you?
acceptable?
You can't guarantee any of this.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the issue is, this is a pretty good skeleton. And you're saying we can't put all of the flesh on these bones. And I think what we're saying is more flesh would be interesting, because then we would know what you mean by this.
I would actually say it would help us, in my opinion, to take this back, because the way as a team we worked on this is as generalized goals. Like, where do we want our focus to be this year? And it sounds like that is not what you want. And so it seems like there's been a disconnect there, as far as like, I don't know that all of these things are going to be measurable in the way that you want them to be measurable. And so I think as our management team, we need to pull it back and say, okay, let's give the board the measurable things. And we can still tell you about our successes in other ways, but a lot of these things are they're almost yes or no. And that's the way we intended it. And so as a management team, we were looking for things that could be answered as, did we do that or did we not do that? And it sounds like that is not what you as a board are interested in. Is that a good summation?
It is for me.
Okay, so to be clear though, what Laura's saying is we would significantly reduce this plan because we would only give you the measurable ones, not the ones that we want to work towards, but we can't give you measurements on.
I would challenge that, because I think there's 2 things that are going on here. almost any goal is measurable. You just have to figure out what the metrics are. And the second thing is, it's okay to set metrics that you end up not meeting. And that's, I think, the big deal is we're okay with metrics that you fail on. That's okay. But we want to see where the emphasis is and what you expect to be able to do. And that also helps you because it helps with figuring out resourcing. Where are we not as charging ahead as far as we meant to in a certain category, to think about where this didn't get us the results we wanted, so we're going to pivot. All of those kinds of things come from being measurable rather than just describing that we're going to emphasize certain areas.
Well, I think we will have to
stretch,
delete
too.
some. If you look at Embrace Innovation number 4, this is something that I thought important. Staff meetings, providing employees with greater access to admin and ability to ask us questions to improve their understanding of decisions and improve morale. I don't think that's measurable.
Well, I think what
How
Sharon
many
is saying,
staff meetings do you have?
yeah, I would say it would be recording how many admin attend staff meetings. I mean, we can measure it all. What I'm saying is
say
it
that-
is a major change in our workflows because we've always kind of just operated on like a team effort. And so we would need to pull back and say, okay, what do we think we want to be tracking? Because we're already tracking all of the public statistics and we're tracking all of our like financial statistics and we track a lot of things. And so I'm not against tracking it all. And I hope I'm not coming across that way. I do want to meet this standard that you are setting, but it is a pretty major shift from us from the way we've done tactical plans in the past. And so I just think it would be helpful for us as a management team to pull back and say, okay, what things are we tracking? And set up the processes necessary to do that. For instance, we do track which staff attend staff meetings to make sure they're all getting the information, but we've never tracked when administration is there. So we just need to have a way of doing that. Does that make sense? And so I do think I can see what you're saying. A lot of this can be tracked. It's just we haven't ever tracked it in that way. And so we would need to set up the processes to do that and add it to our workflows to say, okay, we need to be tracking separate from just our program statistics. We now need to be tracking that this is also a tactical plan statistic that we're tracking separately. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think that I'm not going to speak for the whole board, but I personally don't want you to track additional statistics. I think the big deal is tying the statistics together. The things you're already tracking, circulation, visits, number of people in programs, all of those kinds of things that you're already tracking. Let's tie that to the tactical plan so we can see how the things that we're getting numbers on are reflected in what you hope to do. So maybe it's taking a category and grouping all of that and saying, we're hoping that increasing our Spanish circulation and increasing our outreach and to these communities, all of these will result in increased circulation by this much and increased visits by this much. Those kinds of things are still measurable, aren't additional tracking, and can help to tie those things together.
Well, I'm going to go back to number 4. We can count the number of times that an administration person goes to a meeting. That's not going to tell you anything about improving the employees' understanding of decisions and morale. So that's not measurable easily. So I can right now say, hey, employees, here's a survey, please answer these questions. And then at the end of the year, I can say, here's another survey, please answer these questions. We don't have the capacity for that.
But you already track exit surveys and you already track turnover.
Doesn't actually ask you to do that. It says the ability to ask us questions and improve understanding. So to me, that means you're going to have regular staff meetings, I don't know, once a month. And you could say, we're going to have at least 2 members of admin at that meeting. And there's a 15-minute Q&A at the end of every meeting for employees to ask whatever they need to ask us. Now you've created the ability for them to do this.
But
And
then
we know
the-
they have a form to do it. That's
Which I think that is actually kind of
your
more or less,
agenda is going to show that. If we ever ask you,
but then the
okay, prove it,
answer
now
to
you've got an agenda
the,
that shows that.
And I agree. And
So-
that is kind of what our plan is to have admin at the meetings and be more accessible. But then that's still like a yes or no on the tactical plan. Like what statistic do you want? Do you want how many times admin was there? How many
Be a little different.
questions?
You might say, we have built in
Yeah, a new
15-minute
system.
Q&A, and it'd be a narrative, and we have done our best to guarantee there's at least 2 admin members at every meeting. You know,
Okay.
maybe one time we failed it, but we basically did that. So,
Well, it won't.
I mean, whatever your measurement is, you know, you guys come
Yeah.
up with it. And then, you know, you could do a narrative as well to say, this is what we strove for, and we think this is going to help employees, however you want to frame it.
Okay.
And then we
Just to-
succeeded 9 times out of 10.
Just to follow up with Laura's statement, I think I'm going to go ahead and ask that this be withdrawn and table this. And I will bring it back to you next month. You may find that the number of items are substantially reduced, but they will be measurable. Thank you. Moving on. Proposed director goals for fiscal year 26. Again, these are not things that I do on a regular basis. What is my job? These are extra emphasis for this year. And number one will have to be continued. Prepare and implement the fiscal year 26 tactical plan. We will be conducting a customer satisfaction survey this fall, probably October. Budget. I anticipate this being a very difficult budget year coming up. The impact of tariffs really has yet to be measured. The impact on the employment in the state of Maryland will certainly be something we're needing to look at. What the state budget will be next year, which basically sets what the county budget's going to be, but each year of the past 3, and I give a special credit to Laura and our administration team, we've been very effective about advocacy, and we're going to have to do that again. So, and we will be regularly following what's going on with the economy, local, state, and national, to have some idea of what our budget request next year can possibly be. Obviously, the Charlotte Hall renovation is going to be something that's very important. We do wish to have the plans in place, and we do wish to get an application for capital grant funding in next spring. So those are the main things that I thought that I want to pay attention to, but I'm wide open to you making suggestions for additional items.
In a different year, would likely be about 2 or 3 additional items. It sounds like the Charlotte Hall project is going to consume a lot of.
Not necessarily. 2 or 3 measurable goals is not unusual for anybody's performance assessment, really. But you're welcome to make suggestions if you wish to add something.
We have any questions about the director goals as proposed?
At this time.
I don't know if you're going to use the same form for the director assessment that you have used in the past and are in fact going to be using later today, I understand. So these are goals that would be put on that for next year, that same form, or if you want to change the form, obviously you can do that. But those are kind of what would be put on there for the assessment for next year's annual assessment.
We have a motion to approve.
I would hold off on that. I think we need to complete the 25 assessment, like the process we finished last year. Look at the 25 assessment and then determine where to go forward from there. If there's things we need to carry over or change, or because I wouldn't be prepared to vote on this today. I think we should do one process first and then move on to next year's. That's my opinion.
As the rest of the board feel.
Well, hearing nothing, I'm going to assume that that is kind of what the board is feeling at this point, is you do not wish to move forward with this, and that's fine as well. I will look forward to then presenting these goals next month, once you've completed the assessment process. And if there's things that you wish to add to them, as with today, you're free to add something that you would like to see as a goal.
Could I suggest, based on our previous discussion, that maybe one of your goals ought to be to provide a more outcome-oriented tactical plan and to report on that at the board meeting? And
That's prepare and implement the fiscal year 26 tactical plan, I think would be included, the first goal, I think would be included in that.
okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
That was something that I always had in mind.
Fair
So,
enough.
you know,
I think
it
that's
will
great.
be a tactical plan that you approve, or that you think is what you would like to see.
Okay, fair enough.
Well then, John, I'm going to turn it over to you for old and new trustee business then.
Is there any former business that anyone wants to bring up? See none. For under new trustee business, we have new officer selection. Michael Dunn, when you oversaw the process, how did we take the order of the offices back then? Did you start with treasurer and move on up? You could refresh our memories.
I don't have a super clear recollection, but my thought would be to start with president and kind of go down from there.
Oh, okay.
We only need to vote on president, don't we? It's only because we all serve a 1-year term,
Yeah, and, you know, unless
unless somebody resigns their position.
Yeah.
Which I don't intend to do, by the way.
So I think we just need a president to serve out the end of the 2025 calendar year. And then there'll be elections for 2026 in December.
Yeah.
For all positions.
Do we have any interest from if any of you of filling out the term as president?
Would we be in any way legally handicapped by having that seat vacant?
That's a good question.
My sense from the county is no. I talked to Diane Gleisner and who talked with Buffy Gibbons about this process. So you have 3 possibilities for moving forward on that position. So one is you may leave the position vacant until December, when you would conduct a typical process for the replacement. And in fact, that's what Diane thought she would like to see you do, but you don't have to. You can conduct a full interview process now and do what you just did in April and May. Or because you have so very recently done that process, had 13 applicants, the question.
No, I think we're.
Oh, I understand, but I'm talking about, are you handicapped from the point of view of having a vacant position? So, so you may do that. So my sense from the county is no, they said you could simply leave that position vacant. You can still then have a president that you select now. So you're not under any legal issues if you move forward. and select a president now.
The bylaws state the vice president shall perform duties and functions of the president in the event of the absence of the president.
But
We do have a plan B. Probably wasn't intended for 6 months, but it does empower the vice president to have all those functions
Yeah.
and duties. So I think we're covered in that sense. So John, by default,
yeah, if you
bit the short
if
straw.
you opt not to have an election, then that would be what would happen. But I think the county says that you can if you wish to.
So we still have the, we would still hold elections in December anyway.
Yes, yeah, you'd have to do that anyway.
Mhm. And by then, we'd have, two new members who would have a few months of experience if they were so interested, in any of those
If
slots.
you
One
opt to move forward, to appoint a new.
Well, no, because won't we also we'll have
January.
Michael's new person and we'll have Chuck.
You haven't made a decision about replacing Michael's position yet, but you could.
Well, I guess if you consider Chuck a new member, yes,
Yes.
by December, yes.
Right.
You don't him by then. Yeah, we would have one additional person here. Most likely. And then we'd have a full board to vote. So
But it would certainly be possible, John, for you just to step into the role for the remaining months of the year.
Like as temporary.
And what's the bylaws just say?
well, it's not temporary. It's just that we vote on the officers this term starts in January, our annual meeting.
Mhm.
So we would vote in December. So everybody is up for election in December to start their term in January.
So-
So
So you're proposing that I simply chair the meetings as VP for the
you have that
remainder-
power, or you can raise your hand and say you want to be elected president for the next 5 months. I don't know that makes any procedural differences to us.
Yeah, because I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with the, if just filling in as the VP.
Okay.
Okay, it's understandable. And I think we will all help out. I know this was unexpected,
Yeah,
but we certainly will all chip in and help out, and no knuckle bashing if you make a mistake on the procedures, it's okay. It's not,
So that's
Yeah.
how you wish to proceed? In fact,
Yeah,
it doesn't even need a vote in that case.
yeah.
no.
Unless you believe that the county wants something
No,
different.
the county's fine with what you do.
Okay,
They're giving you carte blanche to make decisions.
Well,
So if you just wish to continue on, then I don't even need a vote.
Yeah.
Welcome for the next several months, filling into that role, and I'm sure that the board will give you the full support.
all right. And the continuous VP, until the fresh the elections in December.
Okay.
All right. And next, it's Michael, you are stepping down from the board, and this is your last meeting.
Yes, that is true.
Sorry, Mike.
No,
I know you don't mind me having a bit of fun with this. Thank you so much for your service. You have served during a time we were facing great challenges. You've served during the pandemic. You've been president. You've always been a voice of reason and someone who tried to pull the board together for effective action. So from behalf of the director, and I'm sure the board will have its own expression of thanks, but just for me, thank you so much for your guidance for me, your ability to help me through difficult times, and for all you've done for the library. Thank you. You've served as president of the foundation. Really, you've given so very much, and it is deeply, deeply appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've-
Thank you,
I've-
Michael.
We've really valued your input and your energy that you've brought to the board.
Thank you. We don't have to go around the whole horn. We can just leave it there. It's been an honor to serve on the board, and I walk away with so much respect and admiration for the work of the library and the amazing people who make the library function every single day. And I've learned so much from each of you, and it's been an honor to work with you on this really important project. And I'm very sorry to leave, 2 years into my 45-year term, what it feels like. And so I apologize for the inconvenience that my vacancy causes. But I think I'm excited for the opportunity for somebody new to come on and step up and bring a new set of eyes and a new set of skills. And I will be a huge supporter and avid advocate of the library. And it's been a pleasure and an honor. So thank y'all very much. And I wish you the very, very best.
Your best of luck.
And go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Go
As,
Mary Walsh.
Michael has
There we go.
transferred to probably the greatest four-year university on the East Coast, my alma mater. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
right.
And let's,
So I do have new business on the treasurer side.
okay.
Should we
wanna
put that
take
in now?
The vacant trustee position, or have we already covered that, you believe?
You need to decide what you wish to do about that. And you've been given 3 options. You may leave the position vacant and do a typical replacement in December. You may do a full process now, or because it was done so recently, the county attorney said that you may look at the most recent candidates. Obviously, Mr. Stein accepted because he was chosen. You don't have to put forward the other 2 names that you put forward. You could look at all those names, but you could simply choose from the most recent applicants and move 3 names from that forward. You could use the 2 you've already done and add 1 to it, but you do have to present 3 names as part of our MOU, with at least 3 names as part of our MOU with the county. So those are kind of your options.
All right. I know personally, I would like us to consider for the future whether the bylaws sort of formalize it to say, if a vacancy occurs within, within a certain time period, that we can go back to that list rather than, restarting the whole process. And we're within 3, it hasn't quite been 3 months, right?
We actually met in June, so I'd say it's been more like 6 weeks. It's early August, 6 to
Yeah.
8 weeks since
Yeah.
we've done it. Yeah, we met in early June, I think.
So,
Yeah, there's nothing, the bylaws
Late
don't address this at
because
all.
we had to have the names very early in June, but I think your final meeting was in June, yes.
but certainly, 3 months sounds reasonable to me.
I would make it no more than 2, frankly, just because it starts to get a little iffy.
Yeah.
But the county did, because it was so recent, say yes to that.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I'm not proposing a bylaw change
Yeah,
at this time,
right.
but something to consider for the future.
My feeling is if the county will accept a resubmission of the slate we originally proposed, there are 2 names still on there. They can pick one of those 2.
No, you should add a third by MOU. Anytime you submit, we're supposed to submit at least 3 names.
Well, let's ask if they will take from 2 because those names are fresh. Otherwise, we're going back into all of this again.
Well, I think we might want to do that in closed session, John, because we're
Yeah.
going to need to start using names. So I think the 2 or 3 we could address in closed. I don't want to get too detailed here, but I support the process of using the previous slate from June and submitting the names. I'm doing that in closed session today.
And whether it's 2 or 3, just go,
We can decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you need to make that a vote with a motion in a second, but then you don't have to discuss the 2 at all in public. You just say, here's the process we're going to use. With the agreement of the county, you're going to use the most recent round of applicants, and that you will select from those. And then in your closed session, we have board member appointment personnel as an item. So you could talk about then whether you just wanted to use the same 2 or, whatever.
So
Okay, so I move that we use the slate the county provided in May, June of this year and meet in closed session to select our 3 candidates. Or
Second.
2 or 3 candidates.
John seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so I think this is new, but so, okay, so I'm going to make two motions. One is to close the Schwab account. I will work with Belinda, and we will painstakingly work with Schwab, and it is painful to close that account completely, have it shut. And the second motion will be to transfer the remaining 50% of the funds that are staying cash into the Wellington Admiral Class Share Fund that we all agreed to several months ago. We voted on because of the fluctuations in the market to do 50%. And we talked about waiting. I'm going to move, we move the rest of it into the market. I don't see a reason to wait anymore. We could break it out if somebody else disagrees into 2 or 3 different transactions. But that would be discussion. If you disagree with me and say you want to hesitate or something.
That you moved, I'll second it.
Which movement? And can we just do one at a
I'm gonna make
time?
Two motions. One is I move that we close the library's account with Charles Schwab Investments.
I second.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I move that we transfer the remaining funds with Vanguard in cash into the Wellington Admiral Class investment account that we have. As soon as I can practically do it, probably in the next 5 days.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I abstain.
Anything else that, under new trustee business?
I do have one item of information. About 3 years ago, the brand new county attorney put on a dynamite program for trustees and other board members. They're working on another one. We will all get notice of it, but it is going to be on September 9 at 5:15. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. We had good attendance at the previous one. I thought it was very valuable. I hope as many as possible, to include our new people, if they are on board by then, can attend.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Well, your next meeting is September 12th. That will be at the Lexington Park Library. Speaking of Lexington Park, the World on the Move exhibit is still going on through August 22nd. If you haven't seen that, strongly encourage you to do so. We've got a lot of interesting programs still coming up surrounding that. Later this fall, we're going to be having 75th anniversary celebrations, and I'll make sure that you get notice of specifically when those are and at what location those will be, in case you want to come out to one of those. That's kind of what I had. I think you need a motion to go into closed session.
Right. We get a motion to adjourn the open session and move into a closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.